All right, here we go. I have my timer set for 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. I'm starting with pencil and pens and just making some marks, scribbling around just to get the paper started. When you do this, it helps you get past any like hesitations. So just scribble around. I have a couple flower looking shapes. It doesn't have to be that. You can do completely abstract. I do love these pens. They're Sakura jelly roll pens, and they're just really fun to work with. They're fun colors. So I for this challenge, it's Terracotta Mint. So I just went through all the supplies I have and pulled out the colors that kind of went with that color scheme, a color prompt. And so I have a whole bunch of different things today, but you do not have to use so many different things. You just go through the things that you have, even if it's Crayola markers and crayons and colored pencils, whatever you have on hand. Just use the color prompt as inspiration. Don't feel like you have to buy everything that I'm using. I have collected these supplies over a lot of years, and so if there's something that sparks your interest, of course, try it. But if not, just use what you have, and that's totally fine. So since we're doing this in 10 minutes, I am using a smaller sheet of watercolor paper. It's 5x7. It's a Fabriano block. You can also do these challenges in a sketchbook. You can just divide your paper into different sizes. Just, draw a border or something and start a small painting. So this is 5x7. I'm starting with some darks to get some movement and structure into the composition. And the colors I mixed are Southern Ocean Blue and Burnt Sienna by Matisse, and it gives that darker tone. That's the darkest I have because I don't have black on my palette today. So there's the Burnt Sienna, and I am just making pretty abstract shapes. I do like florals, but I like them to be abstract and loose and not realistic. I have tried to paint realistic things in the past and draw realistic things, and it's just not me. I prefer moving fast and making suggestions of shapes rather than the actual shape itself. Other people who can do realistic, or I should say, I can do realistic. I don't like to do realistic, but the people who do love it make some beautiful work. And so I am always impressed by them. It's just not for me. So I'm just adding in some different shapes with warm colors, with the burnt sienna and the Australian salmon gum. I'm gonna keep my flowers pink and oranges and warm colors, and the background and the leaves I'll make some cool colors, the minty colors. And so this color is golden phthalo green light, I believe. It's a really pretty minty color just on its own. I like to mix a lot of my colors, but this one is just really pretty straight out of the tube. So again, just kind of filling in spaces, making some marks. It's really all about play and having fun and having, excuse me, having the 10-minute limit helps you kind of turn your brain off. We don't have time to think. And so we just kind of let the paint dictate where we're going. Like if we like this thing, then we'll put something close to it. If I don't like something, I'll cover it up. But I don't have a lot of time to think, so it's just kind of going with it and playing. It's a fantastic exercise if you find yourself getting super tight when you think too much about things. All right, we're already almost halfway through, so you can see how quick this is. 5 minutes left to go. So let's see. I'm gonna start adding in some subtle color shifts and probably some lighter areas. I love to scratch in my wet paint, so that's just a nail that I grabbed off my husband's workbench. It's I've had that nail on my in my little toolkit of things for years. So adding some of these lights just gives some additional movement and interest to the floral shapes that I painted. If you want to keep some of your scribbles and doodles from the first layer peeking through, you don't have to put paint everywhere. You can see some of the pen lines in the leaves and yeah, just the leaves all around the page. And I do like to do that sometimes. Sometimes I'll cover it up. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day. I didn't like so much dark areas. I like to put the darks in because then they can be layered on top of. I don't typically leave a ton of the dark. Although I do need to challenge myself to try a dark background one of these days. Again, just adding in some lighter values here just to add some interest to the background. Getting some tiny color shifts, even if it's a little shift in color or a little bit of layering, it adds much to your paintings. So it's pretty cool to just keep layering on top of what you've already done if you're doing acrylic paint. That patch is bothering me. It's too much pink next to each other. So let's see what I can do with these stripes over here. Sometimes if you're trying to get a really light value, acrylic paint dries darker after it's on the page. And so you think you have a light color and then it dries and it's not as light as you thought. That happens a lot. You just kind of have to get used to that limitation with the medium, I guess. So I tend to go over my lighter spots over and over and over again with lighter and lighter values. And sometimes I will use pure white on the very top. So making some more marks, I used a Stabilo Woody pencil, and this is a gelato. I really like gelatos. They're creamy and they're kind of like pastels. They are water soluble too, so if you use them on a emptier layer, you can spread them around like watercolor. This Neocolor crayon is also one that you can add water to make it look like watercolor, but it also looks like a crayon when you're putting it on top of things, so that's fun too. Getting close to done. We have about a minute and a half. So now just seeing where else I can add some marks or if I can lighten anything up. This is another Neocolor crayon that just making some hints of leaf shapes. And that is a chalk pastel. I don't like how that went on, actually. I was going to smudge it around, but it just kind of made it look dirty. Maybe I'll cover that up. I usually like the chalk pastels, but that did not work out very well. Here's some more pen lines. So you can start with them on the bottom, but you can also add more on top. They draw pretty nicely on top of the paint as long as it's dry. If it's wet, you can clog up your pen a little bit. And there. we go. We're just at 10 minutes. Finish those dashes and done. Okay. So that's what I came up with. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be beautiful. This is a fun exercise learning how to play with colors. So try it out. Join the color prompts. You will get them to your inbox if you sign up below. And I'd love to have you every week. It's so fun just to have a prompt to help you get inspired and get over that creative block. All right, I will see you for Let's Get Moody next week on Thursday.